At 6:42 local time, a 32-foot fiberglass go-fast boat rips across the Caribbean at nearly 55 knots. No navigation lights, no radio calls, just the sound of triple outboard engines screaming at full throttle. From a distance, it looks like just another blur on the water. But on this course, it's about to make the worst mistake a smuggler can ever make. Heading straight toward a United States aircraft carrier. This isn't a fishing skiff that wandered off course. The boat runs low in the water, overloaded. Its bow is punching through waves instead of riding over them. Wrapped bundles stacked under a deep blue tarp. It's heavy and it's hard to maneuver. To the crew on board, the only thing that matters is speed. To the warship up ahead, the only thing that matters is security. 2 miles across the sea, the USS George Washington, a Nimitz-class supercarrier, is at the center of a strike group. Her flight deck is lined with parked FA-18 Super Hornets. Her escorts, a pair of Arleigh Burke-class destroyers and a cruiser, sweep the horizon with sensors. Every contact within 200 miles is being tracked. But right now, it's the smallest one on the screen that's raising alarms. Carriers are floating cities. Over 5,000 sailors live and work on board. To let an unidentified vessel close and unchecked would be unthinkable. The rules of engagement demand escalation. Warn first, deter second, intercept if necessary. The smuggler's boat is about to find out exactly what that looks like. This is the moment when a cartel crew gets too close to the most powerful warship on the planet and learns why that's a very bad idea. Now, of course, the USS George Washington isn't sailing alone. No American carrier ever does. At her side, 2 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers and a Ticonderoga-class cruiser forming the hard shell around the carrier's beating heart. Together, they make up a layered defense network that stretches from seafloor to the edge of space. Every escort has its job. The destroyers handle anti-submarine patrols and missile defense, sweeping with sonar arrays and the same Spy 6 radar that now has eyes locked on the go-fast. The cruiser acts like the strike group's air defense commander, managing the shield of interceptors that can knock down aircraft or missiles hundreds of miles away. The carrier herself, she's the floating airport, launching fighters and helicopters that extend the group's reach far beyond the horizon. It's called a carrier strike group for a reason. It's not just a collection of ships. It's a single organism. Thousands of sailors, dozens of aircraft, and an arsenal of weapons operating under one commander. To get close without clearance isn't just reckless, it's suicidal. And yet, here comes that cartel boat charging straight into the most heavily defended patch of water in the Caribbean. International law gives the U.S. Navy every right to be here. These waters are international, 180 miles off Venezuela's coast. But when it comes to protection, the Navy doesn't take chances. Now, there's another piece to this puzzle. The Coast Guard. On board, one of the destroyers rides a law enforcement detachment or lead. These are Coast Guard boarding teams specially trained to handle smuggling, piracy, and interdiction. The Navy provides the muscle, the Coast Guard provides the badge. Together, they give Washington not just the ability to defend itself, but the authority to enforce maritime law. That authority is about to be tested because the small radar-skipping silhouette on the horizon is not turning away. Every minute it holds course, the risk rises. And for the officers inside the Combat Information Center, the clock is ticking down to escalation. At 6:50 p.m., the bridge of the USS George Washington sends out the first call. Unidentified vessel, this is Warship 273. You are closing in on restricted naval operations. Alter course immediately. Static. No reply. The boat just keeps tearing across the waves. A second call goes out, this time with a sharper tone. Rules of engagement require verbal warnings before anything else. Still nothing. The cartel crew either can't hear it or doesn't care. The escorts escalate. A 5-inch gun on the USS Mason swivels in its mount, not firing, just tracking. The go-fast doesn't slow. At this speed, its crew knows that hesitation means capture. Every knot they keep is another chance to outrun their pursuers. But they've misjudged their opponent. This isn't a lone patrol boat. This is a carrier strike group. Inside the CIC, the legal context is reviewed as fast as the radar sweeps. International waters mean that the Navy can't just sink a boat on suspicion. But international law also allows for self-defense against a vessel posing imminent danger. The closer this skiff runs, the thinner that line gets. Meanwhile, the Coast Guard Leadet team commander gives the go-ahead for escalation of presence. The order is crisp: launch intercept aircraft. The message is simple: this vessel is too close for comfort. By now, less than 10 miles separate the boat and the strike group. At 55 knots, that distance disappears in under 12 minutes. Two MH-60R Seahawks, already spinning on the flight deck, are cleared for immediate launch. Call signs Lancer 71 and Lancer 72. The rotors thump to life, rising into the Caribbean dusk. The game has just changed. At 6:55 p.m., the deck of the USS George Washington roars as two MH-60R Seahawks lift into the air. Designed for anti-submarine warfare, these helicopters are also the Swiss Army knives of naval aviation. They're fast, heavily sensor-equipped, and perfect for intercepting a small, fast-moving surface contact. Within minutes, they're on the boat's bearing, and at 500 feet, the Lancer 71 crew peers through the night vision goggles. The boat is unmistakable. Narrow hull, triple engines, men hunched low on the deck, and a blue tarp covering cargo. Nah, not fishermen, not even tourists. This is a cartel runner. The sensor operator slew the FLIR turret onto the target. On the screens, the engines burn white hot. Every movement of the crew is visible in infrared. The pilot squeezes the radio trigger. Unidentified vessel. This is Lancer 71. You are closing in on a United States warship. Stop your engines immediately. No answer. The boat surges on. The Seahawks escalate. A loud hailer booms across the water, repeating the order in English and Spanish. Still nothing. The cartel crew pretends that the warning doesn't exist. Then comes the visual signal. A green laser designator fired from Lancer 72 dances across the boat's bow. It isn't a weapon, but at night it's impossible to ignore. For smugglers, it's the maritime equivalent of a police siren. Meanwhile, aboard the destroyer USS Mason, a Coast Guard law enforcement detachment preps for boarding. Their RHIB rigid hull inflatable boat hangs from David's crew strapped in and ready to go. Carbine slung body armor on. They're the ones who will step onto the skiff if it stops. The Navy surrounds the target, but only the Coast Guard has the authority to seize it. Still, the go fast doesn't yield. It jukes side to side, engines screaming, throwing up walls of spray in a desperate attempt to shake pursuit. But helicopters don't tire. They pace above, hovering over every move. At this point, the smugglers' options are gone. Every radar in the strike group is on them. Every camera has them locked. The message is clear. There is no escape. The only question is how this ends peacefully or by force. At 7:03 p.m., two ribs cut loose from the destroyer's davits and slam toward the wake. The Coast Guard lead group moves in like clockwork. 3 teams, helmets down, gloves on, weapons slowing, but fingers off the triggers. They ride the chop like a single disciplined animal. The go fast is still bouncing, but now it has no friends in the sky. Lancer 71 holds a steady hover 10 meters above, its spotlight blazing. Lancer 72 circles for overwatch. The ribs close and fast. The lead boarding team shouts commands in Spanish. There is no gunfire. There is the one loud blank choice. Surrender or be forced. Hands come up. Men scramble from behind the tarp. The Leadet leaps aboard in seconds. Firm grips, fast cuffing, immediate separation of crew and cargo. Every movement is filled from the helicopter and the destroyer's mass cameras. Video becomes evidence before a single word is even said. Below decks on the destroyer, the cargo is inventoried. Dozens of vacuum-sealed bales are unearthed from under the tarp, dense, rectangular, stamped, and wrapped the way traffickers do. Field narcotics testing kits register positive. The haul is estimated in the hundreds of kilograms. Its projected street value, conservatively speaking, several $1 million. Chain of custody protocols kick in. Each bale is photographed, numbered, and double-bagged. Evidence seals are fixed and logged. Witness statements are recorded while the smells of fuel and salt still cling to uniforms. The Coast Guard takes legal custody. The Navy provides security and transport. Documentation floats up the command ladder and down to federal prosecutors waiting at the nearest port. Medical checks are run on the detainees. No injuries beyond cuts and exhaustion. They read their rights in both English and Spanish. Forensic sailors sweep the hull for hidden compartments and GPS units. The helicopter's video feed is burned to a secure server for court. By 8:10 p.m., the carrier group has the skip secured, the suspects detained, and the evidence sealed. The tactical phase is over. What remains is legal, political, and strategic, and far more complicated than the seizure itself. Seizing one skiff in the Caribbean may look small, but it ties into a much larger fight. Just days earlier, U.S. Southern Command confirmed kinetic strikes against cartel boats operating off Venezuela's coast. In September 2025, Reuters reported that U.S. aircraft destroyed multiple smuggling vessels after crews opened fire on patrol planes. That's the level of escalation that the cartels are now willing to risk. The Caribbean has become one of the busiest maritime chessboards on Earth. Venezuela's collapsing economy fuels the trade. Traffickers launch from hidden coves using high-horsepower fiberglass boats called go-fasts. They're cheap, fast, and hard to see on radar. Triple and even quad outboards push them past 60 knots. For a time, that speed gave them an edge. But technology is catching up. The ENSPY-6 radar aboard destroyers doesn't just see aircraft and missiles. With high refresh rates, it can track small, low-profile contacts, even against heavy sea clutter. Electro-optical sensors and airborne FLIR make hiding almost impossible once a helicopter is in overhead. Every radio call, every infrared signature becomes evidence. But there's also a legal dimension here. In international waters, the Navy cannot make arrests on its own. But that's where the Coast Guard law enforcement detachments come in. Their presence turns military power into maritime law enforcement. Without them, the Navy could only escort or shadow. With them, it can seize, search, and prosecute. Strategically, positioning a carrier stray group here sends a message. It isn't just about drug seizures. It's about deterrence, reminding both traffickers and governments that the U.S. can project overwhelming force anywhere in the hemisphere. A single skiff may not threaten a carrier, but the principle is the same. Nothing gets close without scrutiny. And that scrutiny is what makes the Caribbean in 2025 less of a smuggler's playground and more of a battlefield of sensors, helicopters, and law enforcement. One small boat, one wrong course, and a lesson every smuggler will remember. The truth is, the Caribbean isn't just turquoise water and cruise ships. It's a contested battle space where even a go-fast skiff can trigger a full naval response. Strike Group didn't fire a shot. They didn't need to. Sensors, helicopters, and the Coast Guard boarding team turned a high-speed chase into a clean arrest. And that shows just how much reach and discipline the U.S. Navy and Coast Guard bring when they operate together. So, here's the real question for you. Do you think the cartels will ever risk getting this close to a U.S. carrier again? Or was this their final warning shot? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. And hey, if you want to go a step further and support the channel directly, please join the fleet. You'll get loyalty badges, priority responses, and you'll be helping us surface more true maritime stories that usually stay below the radar. Click join on the channel page and get on board. Because if a 32 FT speedboat can make a carrier group break a sweat, you know this isn't the last story worth telling. See you in the next one.